Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. This is Monique. If you are new here, please do well to click on the red button below to subscribe. In these tutorials, we'll be learning how to make this crop top with underbust cut. So let's get started. I'll be using 2 yards of Duchess silk fabric for this tutorial. So I've gone ahead to draft the vertical measurement. This is the front and back pattern. I'll be taking the shoulder width, which is 15 divided by 2. It will give me 7.5. I'm adding half an inch for seam allowance. I'll come down by 1 inch for the shoulder slope. Then I'll take the neck width, which is 4 inches. So I'll go ahead and connect it to the neck width. From the shoulder slope, I took the chest line, which is 8 inches. Then I took the other measurement from the shoulder here. I took the shoulder to underbust, shoulder to waist, and shoulder to full length. Now I'll just go ahead and place the shoulder width on the chest line, and I'll take a straight line. Then I'll get the midpoint of this line. Then I'll come in by 0.75 inches. I'll connect it with a slant line. Then I'll take the bust circumference. Quarter of the bust is 9.5. I'm adding 1.5 inch for seam allowance. On the waist, quarter of the waist is 7.5. I added 1 inch for that and 1.5 inches for seam allowance. The full length is 40. Quarter of 40 is 10. I'm adding 1.5 for seam allowance. So I'll go ahead and connect the lines. So I'll go ahead and connect the armhole. So I forgot to take the shoulder to bust point. So I'll just go ahead and take the shoulder to bust point, which is 11 inches because we need it for our bust span measurement. So I'll take the bust span, which is 8 inches divided by 2 will give me 4. I'm adding half an inch, that's 4.5 on the bust point, the waist, the underbust, and the full length. So I'll take a straight line. Now I'll take half inch on both sides from the waist here, like so. And I'll come down by 1 inch from the bust point. Then I'll connect it like this. It all the way to the full length. So for the neck depth, I'll take it all the way down to the underbust line like this. So this is our neck depth. So now I'll trim it out. So for the back pattern, I've also taken the vertical lines. So now I'll take the zipper line. I'll be placing it on the zipper line, but before then I'm going to come down by 2 inches from the full length on the back. The reason why I'm doing that is because the back shoulder is a little bit longer than the front. So I'll place the front pattern on the new line. Then I'm going to fold the excess 2 inches on the shoulder like this. So I'll fold it like this to get a crease line. So on that crease line is where I'm going to take the neck depth. So I'll use the front pattern to get the neck width like this. So I'll mark it out here. So after doing that, I'm going to get the neck depth on the crease line. So I made a little mistake, so I've corrected it. I took it on the crease line. So this is our neck depth. So when we fold it like this, we'll have something like this. As you can see on the screen, on this picture, you'll see that the back shoulder is a little bit longer than the front. So I've trimmed the excesses, so this is how the shoulder will be. Now on the back pattern, on the zipper allowance, I'm going to come in by half an inch on the back half length to avoid bulge on the back. So I'm going to connect it all the way like so. So to tighten the back because our back is not straight. So now I'll take the dart. So I am using 4.5 inches for the dart. I'm placing it on the real zipper line. So I'll take half inch on both sides, just like we did for the front. I'll come down by 2 inches from the chest line, then I'll go ahead and connect it. So this is our back dart. So this is the chest line, bust line, underbust line, waistline, and full length. So now what I'll do, I'll reduce the neckline by 1 inch because it's going to have a band on the neckline. So I'm going to take 1 inch from the neckline here. So we'll be cutting it out, but before then, I'll just take a straight line to connect it to the underbust. So I'll also cut through the underbust line here. So from the underbust line, I'll come down by 1.5 inches. So I'll connect it with a slant line to the underbust line. That is the real underbust line here. Because I'm going to cut this out. So I'm cutting this part out from the underbust. So the next thing I'll do is to also cut this excess 1 inch on the neck line. I'll be doing a slash and spread method here. So I'll be removing this dart. Then on the shoulder, I have about 3 inches. So I'm going to share it into 3. That's 1 inch on both sides. So I'll take the first 1 inch to the first dart leg. Then the other dart will go, the other 1 inch, I beg your pardon, will go to the second dart leg like this. So I still want one more line. So I'll just share this into 2. Then I'll create another line. So I'll be cutting through the lines. But before then, I'm going to close these darts here on the lower part of the top. So from here, I'm going to take it all the way down. So to do that, from this point, I'm going to take 1/2 inch on both sides. So I'll just create another dart like this. That's a straight dart here, so that I can easily close the dart. So I'll go ahead and close it, and I'll secure it with a masking tape. So I'll be cutting this on the fabric like this. Now I'll go ahead and place it on the fabric. I've marked a straight line and placed the pattern on the line. That's the lower side on the line. And on the shoulder, I left about 3/4 inch for each space here. Then on the lower part, I used 2.5 inches for each space also. Then on this other lower side of the top, I took the button allowance. It's going to have a button, so I took 1 inch for the button allowance. So I'm going to cut it out. Then on this side of the neckline, I make sure it's on the beginning of the folded parts. Remember, the fabric is on a fold, so I'll trim it out exactly like this. So I've already added all my necessary allowance, so I'm just tracing it as I have it here. So this is our pattern. If you get confused, you can label it so that you don't mix the patterns up. You can label it. So I've gone ahead to cut it out. So this is how it's going to be. I'll be pleating this part to align with the lower parts like so. So I'll be explaining that later on. Then on the back, I'll also cut it and show you. So this is the sleeve. I already have a video on how to draft the basic sleeve. I'll be dropping the link on the description box. So I'll be doing a slash and spread method also for the sleeve. So I have about 17 inches here. And here I have about 12 inches. So I'll be using 4 inches for this part. I'm sharing it into 3. So I'm using like 4 inches. So I have, on this part, I'll be using like 5.5 inches because I have 17 inches here. So I'll mark it out. Then I'll take a straight line to meet the upper parts. So I don't want it to be too big. I just did 3 lines. So I'll go ahead and cut through the lines. So I'll place it on the fabric before I cut it out completely. So I've placed it on the fabric. On the lower side, I took a straight line. So I placed the lower part on the straight line. And I gave space of about 4 inches here. On each space, I have 4 inches. Then on the top part, I used 1.5 inches, as you can see. So I'll be cutting it out like this. So this is our sleeve. I'll be cutting 2 of this. So I'll be gathering it later on the dress. So I've gone ahead to cut the back pattern also. So this is the top part of the front. So this is our neckline. So I'll be joining the shoulder together. That is the back and front shoulder. Then I'll pleat it to fit the back shoulder. I'll pleat it like this. So I'll pin it up. I'll repeat the same thing for the other shoulder. I'll pleat it to fit the back shoulder because remember the front shoulder has excess. So I'll sew it by 1/2 inch. So this is what it will look like when I sew it. So the front is going to be open. So we are going to close the back by 1 inch here. So I'm going to pin it up. So I'll sew it, then come back and show you. So I've joined the center back by 1 inch. I've also joined the shoulder. So to fix the band, I'll be taking the round of this part to the crop top like this. So I'll use it to cut out the band. So I've cut out the band. I've added interfacing to it. So I have about 3 inches. On a fold, I have 1.5 inches. So I'll be placing it on the top from this part like this. So I'll be sewing it by 1/2 inch here all the way to the end of the other side of the top. So I'll be sewing it all the way like what I have here. I'll sew it all the way to the end, then I'll come back and show you. So guys, I've gone ahead to join the band to the neckline, as you can see. So this is the lower side of the top. I cut out 4. That's 2 on both sides. I'll be using 1 to turn it. That's like 1 will serve as a lining, so you understand as we proceed. So I'll be pleating this on the top. So I'll pleat it, I'll pin it up. I'm pleating it by leaving about 2 inches space on each pleat. So I'll go ahead and pleat it all the way to fit the lower side. So as you can see, I have about 2 inches space for the pleat. So we'll have something like this when we pleat it. I'll repeat the same thing for the other side. So this is what we'll have. So I'll go ahead and sew it and show you by 1/2 inch. So guys, I've gone ahead to attach it to the lower side. So I stitched it by 1/2 inch. I left this part open about 1 inch. I'll explain that. So on the other side, I also left 1 inch. The reason why I left the 1 inch is for me to be able to sew this other part together. That is this one that will be serving as the lining, so that I'll be able to sew it. Because if I had closed it, I won't be able to sew it together. So I'll be sewing it by 1/4 inch, then I'll turn it over and I'll have something like this. So I'll go ahead and sew it and show you. So guys, I've gone ahead to attach it, as you can see. So I joined them together on the underbust by 1/2 inch, so that it will be one piece. I joined it by 1/2 inch. I repeated the same thing for the other side. So now on the hemline, I'm going to turn it over good side to good side like this. Then I'm going to sew it by 1/2 inch here like this. So I'll sew it, then turn it to the good side, and I'll have something like this. So on the back, I'll also hem it by 1 inch, fold it and refold it and show you. So guys, I've attached it. Look at the hemline. So this is the only part that is open, the side. So that was where I used to turn it out. So this is where I stitched on the hemline. So when I turn it out, I'll have something like this. So I repeated the same thing on this other side, and on the back, I have also hemmed it by 1 inch. So also for the back, I have attached the darts. I've stitched the darts on the back here. So now I'll be joining the 2 sides together. Remember, we've joined our hem lines. So I'll be joining the side seam now by, I left 1.5 inch for seam allowance, but I'll be using 1 inch to join the side seam, so that to give it ease, because I know it won't be up to 1.5 again. So just to give it ease, I'll be using 1 inch. So guys, I've gone ahead to sew the side seam. I stitched it by 1 inch. So this is where I joined. I stitched it by 1 inch. So I'll be weaving this part later. Now I'll be attaching my sleeve. So this is the sleeve. So I'll be joining it by 1 inch here. I'll join it by 1 inch. Then the excess, I'll pleat it to suit the armhole. Then I'll be attaching elastic on the hemline. So I'll explain that later. So guys, I've weaved the dress so that it will look neat. Then this is the sleeve. I've stitched it by 1 inch. I've also weaved it. Then on the hemline, I decided to fold it by 1.5 inches. Then I made another stitch on the middle by 3/4 inch. So I'll be opening this side to attach an elastic. The reason why I did this style is just to give the sleeve some kind of ruffles. So I used my sleeve round, which is 8 inches, to cut the elastic. So I'll be attaching it to the dress and I'll show you. So I have attached the elastic to the sleeve. So this is what we have. This is the ruffle it gave me on the hemline. Now I'll be attaching it to the armhole on the two side seam here. I'll make sure they are aligning. Then I'll turn it over like so. Then I'll sew it round. So the excess I have, I'm going to gather it on the shoulder. Then I'll do that and I'll show you. So this is the top. I've attached the sleeve to the top, and this is the outcome of the elastic on the hem of the sleeve. So it gave it a little ruffles. This is the other part. So we are almost done. So now I'll take it to where I'll be fixing a buttonhole. So I'm going to attach buttonholes here and also buttons here. So guys, we've come to the end of these tutorials. I hope it was helpful. Please don't forget to give it a thumbs up, subscribe and share. Thanks for watching.